We won't take this thing, right? Well, well, you can paint your car a different color, but most people just pick the color that they like up front. I mean, running your show is the same way. None of the choices that you make about your podcast or your YouTube show are set in stone. It's just like you can change the color of your car whenever you like. But you got to remember that if you pick lime green up front, it may take a little extra work for you to change it later. If you don't have money and you don't have any time at all, what you should be doing is taking out your phone, going to your voice memos, and recording whatever it is that you're trying to say right there on the spot as soon as you stop watching this video, and then use some sort of distribution app, something like an Anchor, which is, I think, part of Spotify now, or some other distribution app that'll get it out to all the major services. That's not going to cost you anything. You can get started right now. It's easy, and you can get moving. You can get the ball rolling. But if you're like most people and you've got at least a little bit of time, it makes sense to try and be more deliberate with the choices that you're making up front. You want to be conscious about what you're picking to do and what you're not picking to do. I mean, even just basic stuff like format. Is the show just going to be you? Are you going to have guests on? Do you want to put in promotions, cut a commercial into the middle of it for something that you want to sell or let people know about? How long is the show going to be? Is this going to be some 3.5-hour Joe Rogan style polemic, or are you going to do 5-minute quick hits that people can listen to every morning while they're having breakfast? Staying with things like time and format. How frequently are you going to get this show out? Dan Carlin puts out Hardcore History maybe 3 times a year, and he's got an enormous audience. Does that work for you with the goals that you're trying to accomplish? Or do you feel like you need to regiment something and have out an episode 5 days a week? Then think a little bit about sound design. I mean, what do you want this show to sound like? Are you going to have somebody go in and edit it so that you take out all the little filler words, the ahs and the ums and things like that, so that you get a cleaner sound to everything, a more concise speech pattern? Or is it okay with you if this thing sounds kind of raw? What happens if you have a guest that wants to go back and, for the sake of clarity, do a second or third take about something? Who's going to be editing all that stuff? Do you know anything about editing? And sticking with editing more broadly, are you going to want to put in music or sound effects? Where are you getting that stuff from? Who's going to be doing that work? Are you shooting just for an audio show, or is this going to be an audio video thing? Who's doing the video editing? What about all the little choices that I just asked you to make about things like show and segments and length and tempo and frequency, guests? All those choices, are they going to work if you do this for video? Because if you want to take out all the little ahs and ums that people are saying, well, that may wind up making a lot of hard cuts in the camera. It could look a little funny. Are you going to have some sort of visual effects that you want put on people's names or websites, or an explosion in the background, whatever it might be? Who are you relying on to do that? Might not be the same editor that you're looking for from an audio standpoint. And if you want guests, who's going to manage the guests? Have you figured out what the simplest way is to get all their details? Simple things like the correct spelling and pronunciation of their name, their social media handles, websites, emails, headshots. Who's going to let them know when to show up to record? Who's going to check and make sure that their tech, whatever it is that they've got, is up to snuff? How are you going to promote the show through them? What assets are you going to give them so that they can promote the show to their audience? Thinking about promotion for a minute. Are you going to clip the show? Where are those clips going to go? Not just what platform, but what part of the platform. Is it on YouTube, or is it a YouTube short? Are you formatting for vertical? Are you formatting for horizontal? Are you formatting for square because you want to do ads? If you're doing just audio, you can still use all the platforms if you clip the sound and put it with a visualizer. But again, you have to format it for whatever screens and platforms you want to put it on. What about the direct relationship that you're trying to build with your audience? Are you going to ask them to join an email list, a text list? Who's managing the list? When are you going to be sending and messaging out to them? How frequently? Who's writing the copy for all that stuff? When's it appropriate? How much is too much? Let's say you've gotten everything in hand that we've talked about up until this point, and you execute well, and then nobody shows up to listen for the first month or 2 months or 3 months. Is that normal? How would you know? What are you going to do about it? You want to promote the show someplace? Okay, great. Where are you going to promote it? Are you going to take out ads for it? Have you ever taken out ads for anything? And this doesn't even scratch into the really big questions. Because the really big questions are things that aren't actually having to do with the production. The big questions are, if you plan on doing all this yourself, and God bless you if you are, but if you are, for most people, most of the time, this takes a serious chunk of time out of their schedule. What are you going to cut out of your schedule as a sacrifice so that you can make room to be an amateur doing this? How many months or years do you want to spend to get your skills up to mediocre? Again, this isn't rocket science. You don't have to do everything, or for that matter, anything that I just listed. But the reality is that if your audience makes their first impression some work of yours that's poorly executed, that could cost you a lost client or a follower that could have been really meaningful to you over years of time. As I sit here recording this with you, Vendetta Audio is building a limited series of videos to go through with you every step we take of every process that we have for every question that I just listed. We want you to have this. By the time that you're watching this video, they may very well already be up on our site. So kick around the site, take a look at our social handles. You'll probably be able to get a lot of answers to questions you might have. We're not worried about sharing with you any of this stuff because the secret sauce from where we come from isn't any of the technical stuff. The secret sauce is that we've been doing this for a while. And when we execute this, it's done with good taste and good judgment. And you get good taste and good judgment from having bad judgment and bad taste for a long while. I'm going to tell you right now, we've already gone through, we've made all the mistakes, we've been in the gym, we put in the reps, we've got this thing figured out. We're professionals at doing this over here, and we're happy to share with you all the technical tools, because the thing that we've got that you may not have are all the war wounds from having done this already. So by all means, learn everything that you possibly can on the site. We're happy to give it to you. Our philosophy is that if we just educate you to the degree that you are doing it well, it's going to take enough of your time that you're going to want to bring somebody on. And hopefully it's us. Hopefully we build a little trust with you in between now and then. In the meanwhile, please go ahead, take a look at our stuff, and don't get discouraged by the amount of work in front of you. I mean, it's a big thing you're doing, and it should be tough. And you're able to do it. You've got what it takes. You may want some help along the way, but you've got what it takes to make a show and to make it great. Oh, and by the way, if you weren't watching this video with a pencil in hand taking notes, go to our homepage. It's vendettaaudio.com. Right there on the homepage, you'll find a downloadable list of every one of the questions that I just put to you. Just tell us what email to send it to. We'll happily send it over to you. We want you to be as good as you can possibly be doing the show that you want to do to get to the outcome that you're looking to get to. And we'd love to be a part of that. If it's just as a mentor to you, or if you wind up hiring us later, either which way is great by us. It's a big world out there. There's lots of clients. We just want to help as many people as we can. We know that the people who really need us are going to find us. And we know that if you put the work in, you're going to have a great show. Enjoy. Dogs and cats and people in pools and helicopters. It's like designed to be a pain in the ass. It was like take 1,000, right? Bobby, mark this so we can put it at the end of the thing, would you?